Hello, my name is Anamaria Arias. I'm a Master of Science graduate student at the Department of Justice Studies at San Jose State University. I'm going to talk to you about femicide, more specifically the disappearance of women in Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. A little bit of background. The disappearance of women has escalated over the past 30 years and has evolved into an international human rights crisis. The proliferation of violence towards women accounts for 940 reported femicides throughout Mexico in 2020 alone that we know of. During the first 2 months of 2020, January and February, Mexico reported 4,854 victims of international homicide and femicide. Of the total, Michoacan was the state with the highest percentage of cases in this period, with 940 people. The growing violence across Mexico, aggravated by the economic crisis, has had a direct impact of violence against women, which has alarmingly increased during recent years. The widespread failure by the authorities at the different levels of the government and with the systematic pattern of impunity in Mexico, it has created a reflection on the lack of access to justice for women. Frequently, families of the disappeared women are battered and discriminated against when trying to access the justice system. They are often faced with threats and intimidation when just trying to initiate investigations. As for the concept of femicide, it was first formulated in 1992 by the English activist Jill Radford and the American activist and theorist Diana Russell, with an attempt to give name to a gender phenomenon of killing, avoiding the gender neutrality of the term homicide. More specifically, this term is appropriately applied to women being murdered and disappeared in Latin America. And why is femicide an important topic to talk about? Well, in many parts of the world, the concept of unequal gender relations has been deeply held for centuries. It's at the very core of how people relate to one another and how its families and communities function. Often, these core beliefs create an environment that makes gender-based violence not only common, but acceptable. And we see this more specifically in Mexican culture. Tragically, femicide can be a part of that. For this research study, I will be focusing on 3 research questions. How has the government responded to femicide cases in Morelia? How do women ensure their safety in Morelia? And how do gender-based organizations create justice or advocate for justice for femicide victims? For my theoretical framework, I'll be focusing on the feminist theory. The theoretical framework plays an important role in guiding the entire process of this research study, particularly the feminist theory. The feminist theory has risen as an explanation as to why killings of women occur. Bersani and Chen describe the feminist theory as the patriarchal perspective, which is founded on the belief that patriarchy and oppression are common threads in the structure of society. It highlights the pervasive machismo culture throughout the entire Mexico. Women over the years have been subjected to sexual violence, whether on the streets or at home, often seen as domestic violence. The extreme end of gender violence towards women ends in femicide, and it is a particular problem in Mexico due to the increasing disappearances of women every day. As for my methods, I will be conducting 15 semi-structured interviews, which will be conducted with community members in Morelia, Michoacan. Semi-structured interviews are important to elicit the citizens' views on femicide and policy changes, as well as identifying ongoing violence trends towards women. Snowball sampling will be used to allow research participants to recommend other possible respondents, and interviews will be audio recorded to ensure all important information. As far as what do I expect to learn from this research study, or what should I take away? What I expect to get from this research study is an understanding of what is the best way to address this issue of femicide in Michoacan. I am hoping that after talking with interviewees, I'll be able to make possible recommendations, as well as possible improvements that should be made to address the needs of femicide victims or their families. Thank you for your time.